everybody. Good evening. Welcome. This is The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. And tonight's definitely one of the most diverse conservative podcasts in politics. Your host is always Jonny Torres. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, whenever, wherever you may be doing so. And we want to, of course, right off the bat, thank our friends at Community Patriots for continuing to support the program and support what we're trying to do here in terms of getting out the message ahead of the elections. And we'd appreciate your support by making sure that you follow us on all our social media platforms. And if you miss any part of the show, you can subscribe to the audio portion of our podcast in pretty much any podcast platform you can think of, especially over at the tech overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and Samsung podcast platforms. We appreciate you for watching. We've got a lot, and I'm not even just saying that for the sake of saying it. We got so much to cover tonight. We've got a full panel. We're actually going 4 wide tonight, which is exciting. I don't think we've done that in a long time. And so, first of all, before we get to some breaking news, we're going to go ahead and run through tonight's topics. New POTUS polling, not doing President Biden any favors. We'll talk about those numbers and obviously pick apart exactly why that continues to happen. 2,000 Mules, the latest documentary by Dinesh D'Souza, talking about the election, which, we got to be careful, unfortunately, because if you mention too much about what happened during the election, then YouTube, of course, decides to take down your video. So we'll try to talk about Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, 2,000 Mules, without getting censored. Sweden and Finland are knocking at the door of NATO, wanting to join the club, especially as things continue to just get wild and crazy over in that part of the world with Russia and the Ukraine, and the courts striking down Ron DeSantis' congressional maps. Seems like we have some hiccups there. We'll talk about why and where, as we, of course, are trying to get all these districts in order so that people can get ready to vote in November. But first, I actually wanted to cover some election news because there's been a lot of movement lately, again, as the dust continues to settle on all the new districts. But over in wild Congressional District 13, never a dull moment over there. But this time on the Democrat side, Ben Diamond, I believe he's been out for a while, no longer running in that seat. I believe he got pushed out due to the redistricting. So 1 point for Ron DeSantis there. And Michelle Rayner also dropping out of the Congressional District 13 race in Pinellas County, leaving Eric Lynn. And I'm not sure if there's anybody else left, but it's certainly whittling down heavily on the Democrat side for CD13. Now, on the Republican side, still a huge race. There's at least 4 candidates out there making a lot of noise, and so we continue to watch that closely, as Amanda Mackey, Anna Paulina Luna. Who else have we... Christine Quinn. Yeah, I mean, it's a laundry list out there. And then on the state legislative side and congressional side, big news is Kelly Stargell, both, I think she was state senate and state representative from Polk County, has jumped into the Congressional District 15 race, which covers Hillsborough County and Polk County. So she joins that race along with Jackie Toledo and Dennis Ross, putting up 3 incredibly strong candidates in that, Ross. We'll get to everybody's thoughts on that in a second. And then just want to give a quick shout out and good luck to our buddy Sean Harrison, who after some time away from politics has now jumped back into the game, running for state senate against Anna Cruz. Which a very formidable candidate and opponent there in that race. And Sean is definitely someone who could beat Anna Cruz in that district. So let's go ahead to the table, see what everybody thinks about this late breaking news and tonight's topics. All the way to the far end of the table, just where I like him, wherever I can't reach him, is Anibal David Cabrera. Next to him, the one and only Kimberly Davis.
Oh, we can talk now. Yay.
Yes.
Hi, everyone.
And then joining us for the first time right here, Joe Amato. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
So do you prefer Josephine or Joe? Or
everyone calls me Joe. But
okay. Josephine, it's probably partially why I went with Jonny, because it's just Jonathan just seems so long. And but we appreciate you joining us for the first time. You're with the Florida Freedom Legal Fund, right?
Yes.
Okay. And one of the things that we wanted to have you on tonight was to talk about and a topic we've kind of been grazing, over the past few weeks in regards to the school redistricting. And so you're involved with, again, our buddy Kim, who is kind of spearheading this legal action against the school district here in Hillsborough County due to what I understand is it mostly sunshine laws that are the culprit here, or there's issues with the actual redistricting itself?
So
all of the above?
It's all of the above. So
Yeah.
it begins with the actual sunshine law violations.
Okay.
So, we're in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Everything's supposed to be done in the sunshine.
Right.
And we're supposed to be given due public notice
Yep.
based on the issue
Okay.
that you are voting on.
Yeah.
And so I think, in America, your voting rights is a really important issue.
A little bit.
Especially for the 7th largest school district in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
the 3rd largest in Florida, with a $3.3 billion budget
Yeah.
that has been consistently poorly run over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I wish they would act like it. I mean,
So our due public notice did not happen in every language that the entire constituency can understand. So nothing was produced in Spanish for a county that has a 32% Hispanic American population.
and multiplying, yes.
And it was 48 hours. On the day of the first meeting, I was literally on my way, and I received an email to say the meeting was canceled.
Oh,
So there have been multiple multi-layered sunshine law violations.
Okay,
And the
gotcha.
hubris in which they push through redrawing your voting districts in South and East County and Hillsborough County had the largest growth in population.
Yeah.
Our schools are bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
And they have drawn a line where we get one vote. Just one vote.
well, we'll get into a little kind of deeper into kind of the meat and potatoes of that. I did want to just get you all's reaction. Again, a lot of, election news out, just over the past week. Again, 13, 15. I think even for those of us who are a little bit kind of more on the, political junkie side, we love also that Sean Harrison, Anna Cruz matchup.
I'm loving that.
Me
I'm
too.
loving
Big
that.
time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you talk about a guy who fought very well to win in the state house district that covers New Tampa and Temple Terrace, which again, very purple district, and he won it when it counted. But it was a very hard district to hold on to.
Absolutely.
And he's been one of the few people that have been able to get elected there as a Republican. But I think that is all the more reason why I think he's maybe the best positioned to go up against Santa Cruz, being that district is also a very purple district, but also very business friendly. He still has a lot of contacts. I mean, he's literally worked his way up. We talk about all the time, about these young candidates, and we tell them, hey, run for city council, run local first, and and they don't listen. But Sean Harrison was one of those who came up through the city council, and has earned his way up. And I was disappointed when he kind of said, "Oh, I think that might be it for me." And so to see him back in the fray, I think is exciting. So again, much luck out to Sean Harrison. For those of you, again, in the kind of greater West Tampa area, all the way out to New Tampa and whatnot, go ahead and look him up. Also, Stargell in 15.
Yeah.
I mean, and look, I mean, Anibal knows I don't like to kind of hide my opinions too often.
Pulling punches?
But we've always said, like, the big question mark is, why is Jackie running in 15?
And not 14.
Okay.
And why is Jay running in 14 and not 15?
Exactly. But even now,
One of those has been corrected.
Now it's been corrected.
well, and Stargell's known as, I mean, she's tough.
Yes.
She is a tough legislator, and she is not one to bow easily, So I wonder, I mean, if she's going to kind of really bring the knives out against Dennis Ross. I mean, it's if you live in Polk County, I mean, where the bodies are buried. And for Dennis Ross,
a lot of us know where those bodies are buried.
Yeah.
And none of us are talking about
well, we
it.
didn't expect Dennis Ross, of all people, to kind of jump back in, and
How
I don't.
long has he been out?
Three cycles.
3 cycles.
4 cycles.
Wow.
So 6 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
8 years.
8 years.
8 years. Damn.
And so, like, that whole situation, when Jackie announced that she was jumping in, which we all were kind of aware that she was going to jump into a congressional seat. I just don't think any of us knew which one yet. A few of us wanted her to be in 14. She decided to
It
be
just
in
seemed obvious.
Yes, which was all. It's her constituency.
Right, it's her stronghold. I
And
mean,
so
she
now-
represents
Yes.
all of South Tampa.
And so now that she's in 15, I thought no one else was going to jump in because she has a very large pack. She has a very large coffers already established. And then Dennis Ross jumps in, and the whole world literally just turns around and like, oh, okay.
It becomes a real-
It becomes a real race
yeah.
because now those people that were going to donate to Jackie, or probably already did donate to Jackie, are now donating to Dennis Ross, and so they have to hedge the bets.
Well, that's where it's weird because I don't really see a lot of crossover. I mean, between Dennis and Jackie in terms of donors, right? Because
not,
their
yeah.
strongholds are, Dennis's stronghold is in Polk County, and Jackie's
Jackie's
stronghold is in Tampa. So this is going to be the Hillsborough County versus Polk County race all
Which
over
last
again.
time
Right.
we played that game, Polk County won.
And the issue is Polk County is going to win because of how Hillsborough is so purple and so blue and how we're districted. So if we don't win Hillsborough, we're going to continue to get the short end of the stick on a federal level. That means our voice is never going to be heard on a federal level. Our power and our voice in Hillsborough won't be heard. And so it's pitching us against one another, and because they piecemeal Hillsborough, because we actually need to work in Hillsborough to make Hillsborough strong for the voices of the people in Hillsborough to
Absolutely.
properly represent the populace.
Yeah, and we saw that happen when it came to the open seat that was filled internally. When he's a good friend of the YRs, he resigned his position so that he was able to go into the private sector. They had to appoint his position last cycle. He's Town and Country, Carrollwood.
Not McClure.
No.
He's one of our guys. Anyways, when he resigned his position, Hillsborough County and Pinellas County had the right to put up.
Oh,
their
James
people.
Grant.
Jamie
That's what I was about to say. Was it
And so-
Jamie?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was Jamie. And
Got
so,
replaced by Tracy Cox.
correct. But that replacement was because Pinellas County has their ish together than
Yeah.
Hillsborough County does.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
and again, we had Jeff Lukens. Well, not Jeff Lukens. Someone else was on.
Well, what
was going
happened
to-
with the guy that was in 15, Scott Franklin?
He got switched to, I believe, 18.
Yeah, he's moving
Okay.
to
He's
18.
now
Got it.
he's
All right.
because of the redistricting lines. He's now
Oh,
moved
weird.
to 18.
Yeah, but that's the thing that you're completely right. Hillsborough County is losing its political power because Hillsborough County is not organized enough to be able to put someone up there that is viable, which is why Polk County is probably going to win when it comes to their person that they're putting up, and that's why Pinellas County won when it came to the state house.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Jackie, doesn't have the presence in the east part of the county, which is where she needs to have the presence, to win Hillsborough County and Polk County, and
Yeah, but she did that. She went into 15 because she was lobbied very hard by the local people here because Jay Collins had already been in 14 for so long. So he was our guy that's going to beat Kathy Castor, right? It's the year of the cop, the year of the veteran, the year of the dad or the mom.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen way too many veterans run for that seat and lose, and so until actually
He
pulls it off.
outraised her. I mean, he outraised Kathy Castor. That's
Well,
the
we've
first
seen a
time
lot
that's
of
happened.
formidable candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
But
I mean,
then he bounced.
we run through the laundry
That-
list.
That's a larger conversation.
Yeah, that is.
On-
But then he bounced, and so we're just kind of waiting now to see because now we have all of our talent in 15, and we have no one up against Kathy Castor, which is just
Yeah.
that's just an abscess that needs to stop. That
Which
we
I'm-
need to have someone.
No, we don't need it to have someone. I'm of the opinion that if it's not a viable Republican seat to go after, then I don't like the idea of wasting resources.
but see, that's one of the things. I think Jackie would have been the right person to go up
That's
against
right. That's
Kathy.
what I agree with.
I agree.
And it's the timing is right. If the Republican
wave
surge
works the
happens,
way, yes.
it's winnable. Jackie, again, most people don't realize she is one of the, if not the top fundraiser
Correct.
in the state
Absolutely.
legislature.
And she works. She works. that
She
district.
knocks every door 3 times.
Yeah, when Kathy just comes around on election season.
Kathy's never run an election.
Well, she's never
run a
accomplished
Yeah,
anything
she's never
either.
run a campaign, and she's never had to defend a record.
But this is the reality. Can you go into Plant City with a Sprinter van and your kids in there. You can't do that at the Strawberry Festival. That's not something you can do. You can do that when you're off of Swan and Plant. You can do that.
The big family thing, I think, would play well in Plant City.
It would play well in Plant City.
Yeah.
Up in maybe, far northeast of Polk County.
Yeah.
Not so much.
And you know what?
Well, let's be honest though. The is it Peruvian, Ecuadorian? Peruvian. That's honestly what's going to be tougher to overcome in that part of the county.
Oh, absolutely not.
And in Polk County.
No, absolutely not. So I'm an East County. I'm an East County girl. I have a 350. I wear my hunting boots. I go out there. I farm. But no, we're not there anymore. And I will tell you that as a Boricua, as a Hispanic American, I'm out in East and South County. My community
East,
knows me.
Brandon, Riverview, absolutely.
No, even Plant. So I'm out there all the time.
Okay.
My husband's a retired Green Beret, and the ROTC director out in Plant City High School. He works out there, one of our best friends. I'm out in Plant City all the time. I'm in that community all the time. It is a diverse community that embraces their community.
Yeah.
If they know you and they know you.
Oh, Plant City's been that way. It has always been that way.
But
Yeah,
I think that's where we're coming at. Jackie is
Yeah.
not a Plant City girl. Jackie is a South Tampa girl from Tampa proper. And so that's where my little issue is right now with, like, we only have until June 17th
for qualifying.
So the time is starting to ramp up where the contestant of 15 is getting too much.
Yeah.
And someone's going to have to move somewhere else. And I don't know if she's going to do that.
So I think Jackie has a very strong to go against Kathy Castor. She's Hispanic American.
Yep.
She's in South County. She works really hard,
She's a
and
single
she's
mom.
publicly known.
She's got a good record.
It's a very strong race if she goes against Kathy Castor.
I don't get it,
for sure.
And actually, funny enough, her. And I won't name him, but her consultant, who actually might come on the show soon,
that would be quite a coup.
Well, and I would be asking him exactly what they're thinking, behind this. If he's willing to divulge, is another thing. But I don't know. I don't understand the rationale here. Given how strong Jackie is in 14. I mean,
Agreed.
but I don't know. We'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and get into tonight's topics. We got new POTUS polling. Anibal, you've got the numbers, and it's still looking pretty bad for POTUS. And I think we're hitting the sevens.
So it has been quite a time for. I don't want to get a camera. It's fine. It's fine.
By the sevens,
I don't have a good shot.
Oh my God.
I just put the gel in, so it needs. Okay.
You're missing the pashmina.
Now,
That's the problem.
It's the pashmina. Yes.
Sorry, darling.
So President Obama.
I do like the gray on pink, though. I'll say that.
You know what? This outfit was grabbed and ran out
in the dark. Oh no! I'm just kidding.
So this is half of my outfit that I wore for church, and people were like, and some people were like, oh, okay, and I was like,
no, I'm kidding.
I didn't dress myself.
Gingham in gray.
This is the one time I did dress myself, and people are like,
and it shows.
Gingham in gray.
Anyways, President Biden's job approval ratings have dropped continuously. Approval rating of 39%, disapproval at 56%, and the best ones, numbers of all, is the country on the wrong track. At the start of the president, honestly, this has not moved that much. On the October 2021 was 71%. In January, 72%. In March, 70%. Now is 75% of the country believes the country is going down the wrong track. It feels like the country's coming undone. Mothers cannot get baby formula, which I did not realize was a thing until someone talked about it last week. We have trade embargoes going absolutely nowhere. Inflation has hit 8.5%. We had a down GDP number the first quarter of this year of 1.8. Things are just unraveling, and I don't know how long can we hold out until this is becoming more of a problem. I don't know. Like, interest rates are increasing. Unemployment is actually still pretty decent at the moment. But like, when was it? I put gas today at $4.50. It's insane. California's paying almost $5.50, almost $6 now, and don't even talk about diesel. So like, there's so many problems happening, and then like abortion was just lobbed in there as for good measure.
Yeah, that's a distraction.
Exactly. So like now I'm to the point of like, what are we supposed to do at the moment? Because I don't know what's happening.
Here's what I want to know. I would like to meet the 25% who said that, yes, rock on. We're going all the right ways. Everything we're
It's your
doing.
diehards. Those are your progressives who they're going to, no matter what. I mean, honestly, they could do no wrong.
I just want to sit down and have a beer with them and see if they buy it for me.
They don't drink beer. They drink some form of grass wheat
kombucha.
No, I'm not drinking kombucha. And if I'm going to drink grass wheat, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So.
They're drinking mocktails. All right, Kim, those aren't your people.
Those are not my people.
They don't drink?
No. Those are not my people.
No, these are like IPA, like homebrew kombucha drinking people.
No, those are not my people.
I'm offending some people behind the scenes here.
Whatever. This is majority Hispanic table.
Again, I want to know. I know. I'm the white girl in the group, so I want to meet these. Right, thank you, sister. I appreciate that. But I do want to meet these 25% just to say where. And I know that you're saying that these are the far left, aggressive, progressives.
These are the people who want you to pay $100 to fill up your gas tank because they think that you should be riding your bike or that you should be buying an electric car or are they
going to change their mind now that the Teslas are the electric car of choice?
Yeah. No. I mean, again, no, because then when everybody does have an electric car, then they're going to say that, well, no, look at the environmental impact it takes to build an electric car.
Look at him with the environmental impact of getting rid of one of those batteries.
This is the problem what happens when you don't eat meat anymore. You get very angry and very upset.
And they don't live in reality. I mean, these are the same people. New York City came out with some news over the weekend that they're going to cut the number of New York City cutting the number of lanes in half. Mm-hmm. All right, to expand for foot traffic and bicycle traffic.
No.
They want to become a walking and biking city.
Okay, well, then you'll have to tell the cabbies they're going to have to redirect their entire strategy of getting me downtown from the Upper East Side in 10 minutes.
If there's anybody who knows how to ride, it's cabbies.
Yeah. Well,
and the bike messengers.
That's right.
I mean, this is all indicative of systems falling apart and no one being held accountable for being inept in any way in running a lot of our systems, or that policies made by people who are sitting at the table who don't live in the real world and drive and walk in New York City or take a subway in New York City. So Vision Zero, I believe in zero deaths. And that's what drives those are the people that have the seat at the table. So safe walking routes, they have the seat at the table. However, New York City has implemented, they call it lane reduction, like road diets, which they're doing here in Tampa. And it's the design of it that's catastrophically inept. It does not work. Right. It hasn't decreased deaths. It has not decreased crashes. And it's poorly designed. So if anyone has driven in New York on the Harlem River Drive, mira, like it's tight, like it's super tight. Like you're like this. Your car is like this. There's not an inch. We're used to driving like that in New York City. That does not slow us down.
And no one's hitting the other people. I was so surprised that there weren't more fender benders while I was driving through there. I'm like, I feel like my car is shrinking right now. I felt so uncomfortable.
It closes in around you.
Like, because when people are at the table making the policy decisions for our nation and sitting both locally and federally, but those policy decisions don't work out, they're not viable. They're unwilling to say, that didn't work. Right. Let's try something else that works better. When the data and the evidence doesn't support their idea, they refuse to pivot and say, this is about the people, this is about our country, and let's change what we're doing. This doesn't work. They just support the bad idea.
Well, and on transportation, I've said that until we have some new technology that we have not been privy to yet, there has to be some magical new type of transportation that is going to solve our traffic problems.
That has
because
been
everything that's out there already, even the stuff that Elon Musk is trying. I mean, it's kind of getting there, but it's still not going to be the solution.
You and me have talked about this before. Why are we investing so much money in 18th century technology?
A streetcar.
You're literally just changing the name and making it flashy. That's all you're doing.
Are they going to bring back horses next?
I would rather have that, and then you have someone
who's going to clean it up.
I'm not going to.
Look at Anibal creating jobs over there.
I try. You know what? I try every day. I tried to create a new
Is that
job.
going to be a 15-hour now?
I'm telling you right now, this is the reason why I want mass transit, so then I have more roadway on my own.
But this is the idiotic thing, both here in Tampa and in St. Petersburg, is you've got these city council people who think that, because ridership is through the roof on the trolley because it's free. That somehow that's a transportation solution, because it's not. And then this ferry that again is a tourist attraction, they're like,
Didn't they just pause that?
ridership numbers are through the roof. Well, it's seasonal, right? But somehow
it's seasonal.
It's a
In Florida.
it's a transportation solution.
No, you don't know that the bay freezes every year in July?
That's right. Oh my gosh. All right.
But no,
So
if you are continuing, that's why every time you see those news outlets saying record writing, I'm like, that's not real. It's not a real number. You are inflating the numbers. And then the comment section comes after me, and I'm like, I'm not lying to you. You are just
Well, and it's tourists. It's mostly tourists. It's those types of transportation are going to be mostly tourists. They're very rarely going to be predominantly residents.
I park in Ybor City when I want to go to a hockey game because I have a trolley that goes me right there.
Right.
That's the reason why I use the trolley. That's it.
So I will say for
that
the
and
ferry.
Gasparilla, that's it.
So for the ferry in Apollo Beach
Again,
in East County, they'll go to MacDill. So you'll get that ridership, but you'll have to park there. And then how do you make that affordable for year round is the question. But if you want to really impact traffic infrastructure in Hillsborough County or in any major city in Florida, you make the American school bus available for every child.
Yeah.
It takes 77 cars off the road. Now think about driving this summer, just this week. Now think about driving in your community during school time.
Right. Huge difference. And but what's crazy is, again, they all think that they have the magic bullet. I mean, look at what happened to the Downtowner. Okay, don't get me wrong, I loved the Downtowner, especially when I worked downtown. But guess what? It wasn't viable.
No.
Even free, it wasn't viable. Okay, because it's not a solution. It's not a realistic solution. We live in Florida. People are not going to give up their cars. You literally have people that could walk to Publix, and they won't because it's Florida,
it's
nobody
hot.
wants to walk in 90-degree weather.
I am 3 blocks away from a Publix. I will never walk there. I don't even walk. I do. We sometimes walk. The only reason why we walk to sushi because it's connected to the property.
Well, and it's on the corner.
I know.
It's on
If
the
it
corner.
wasn't, then we wouldn't
and
do
it
it.
has sake.
Yeah, I mean,
It's sake. Priorities.
which
My
you
people.
need after.
My
That's
people.
why we're friends.
My people.
Well, I was talking to some people who are close to the White House. I'll just put it that way. Over the weekend, and I mean, the POTUS situation is horrible. I mean, he is the people that are close and not close to him, but not in his corner. Let's just put it that way. Are talking about how he is literally just not there. He's not home.
I'm telling you, we're having a Nancy Reagan situation.
Yeah. Okay, so let's pose the question. So what has been the bigger cover-up? Reagan, FDR, Kennedy, or Biden?
It's Biden because
No.
we have social media.
FDR. FDR was
but we have
the
social
FDR,
media.
they literally tricked everybody into thinking that he wasn't in a wheelchair.
Exactly. The media
Yeah, but-
purposely did it to ensure that the people wouldn't feel that they had a weak president, and that's the only reason why. And this is
And
during
it was
the war.
wartime. Yeah, it was
I mean, they
wartime.
literally
But we
propped
also
the guy
didn't
up on
have
a
a
podium.
24/7 news cycle back during FDR.
Yeah,
so
correct.
that's back then. It was if someone brought up the president at a dinner conversation,
Right.
it probably wasn't the full topic of conversation.
Correct.
Whereas now, with a 24/7 news cycle, this is all we're talking about. I mean, it's my husband and I. He walks in, he's like, I don't think I can't do another 3 years of this. You know, it's,
Oh my
did you see
God,
how much I
we're
paid for
only-
gas?
We're not even year 2 yet.
Well, and Jill's pretty much running the show.
Jill has to be. Did you see him? Or either that or the Easter Bunny. I
Have
don't know
you
who I'd
seen-
prefer, the
Well,
Easter
Mother's Day
Bunny
in
or
Kyiv.
Again,
I mean,
she got there
I
before
mean-
Kamala. She got to Ukraine.
Has Kamala even gone? I saw Nancy Pelosi. I haven't
Kamala
seen Kamala.
didn't go. She was in like Poland or one of the other Polish
Yeah, she was
countries.
close.
now, Kamala apparently was meeting, again.
It was in Poland.
No, she just today resurfaced a meeting with the UAE. So she was meeting with,
Yeah, I saw that.
With a headscarf or not with a headscarf?
Yeah, mind you, on the same week that the government has released
She had
documents.
the babushka.
Yeah, on the same week that the government has released documents confirming that the Saudis funded the 9/11 terrorists.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so
But I mean, I don't even know why these things are still a question. Like, we
Yeah.
already had and then they confirm it, and then our vice president goes and meets with them and shakes their hand.
And meanwhile, calls
again,
everybody
is
else a
this the
liar for
25%?
decades.
Right? Is this the 25%
But again,
that we're talking about?
would you rather have a Nancy Reagan situation, or would you want to have a Kamala becoming president?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I will take a Dr. Biden over
a Joe Biden?
Oh my God, the things that are going through my mind to
Uncle
say
Skippy?
and use examples, but because we have women around,
Oh,
I will not say
please.
it.
Yeah, oh, brother. All right.
I had to write notes to myself.
I don't
to
think
not
her.
say
I don't think her knees will be able to handle it.
Oh, God. God, he went there.
Wow. Even
Thanks.
I didn't do that.
That's
Sucking the air out of the room.
That's how she got in office.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching the yard sign. On that note, if you're still watching, we've got a lot to talk about. A full panel tonight with some old faces, some new faces. I like it. I like the dynamic so far. It's been a good show. 2000 Mules, the latest documentary by Dinesh D'Souza, has been out. Of course, already fact-checked by some of the mainstream media outlets. And, it's gotten mixed reviews, I'll say. I mean, at least from
Well,
what
it's
I've
got
heard.
no press.
Well, that's the other thing. But I mean, it's still got a lot of buzz.
It's got some
there's
grassroots buzz,
it's-
but there's...
It broke like the top 10 on movies
Yeah.
that came out when that week. I think even higher actually.
I think it's the number one political documentary.
Well,
in
because
history.
again,
history.
the previous power structure when it came to media is broken and breaking as we speak. When it comes to music, the music industry, you don't need a record label to become a famous musician anymore. You don't need a major distribution a company to get your movie out there or your
Right.
documentary out there. So right now is when, especially those of us who are not of the values of Hollywood, need to really step up and continue to create content and continue to create platforms and entertainment, that again better, I think, reflects the type of entertainment that we'd like to see, and certainly when it comes to important issues like this. Now, in talking about it, I mean, some of the criticism I saw, Ben Shapiro did a great breakdown of 2000 Mules. I thought it was very fair. It wasn't glowing. He says, okay, obviously they laid a lot of groundwork, but it seemed like something that either needs a sequel or it needs a follow up. Now I'm hearing that there might be a data dump coming soon that supports everything that they talked about in the documentary. And so I think we're on the right track.
Right.
And honestly, if anybody is shocked by how easy they were able to get this information, welcome to 2022.
Yeah.
Because again, through the sources I was talking to this weekend, I didn't know this, but the cell phone companies actually do record all phone calls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That part, I mean, I knew all the other stuff, all the other tracking and all the other, but I was not aware that all of them are actually recording your phone calls.
Yeah, and there's metrics and just like algorithms, just like with Facebook, where they have keywords, the same thing on your conversations.
To flag them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and then
right.
you get pulled in and say, don't say bad words.
And look,
on your
and
cell
fair
phone.
is fair, but hey, thanks to the Patriot Act, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we royally screwed up on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean that here's the thing is whoever's in power at any moment when you create things like the Patriot Act, you have to take into consideration how is this going to rebound on you when you're not in power.
When you're not in power.
Right.
Right? And that's the problem is that at any given moment, whichever party is in power doesn't ever think beyond their tip of their nose to say what's going to happen after. And I've known Dinesh I've had the pleasure of meeting him quite many times. And he's a cool dude. He's very passionate at his core. He's a showman. And that's what he was doing here. I mean, you had to see what was his book before that? Was The Death of a Nation. And he actually, when he shot the movie on that book, he actually took his actors, his cast, and they went to Germany and put on authentic Nazi uniforms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
And they didn't get arrested?
They not in Germany, but they didn't show it much in the United States. He brought it to a Republican event in Orlando during the 2018 cycle, and everybody in the room said, "We're not playing this."
Absolutely.
Because all you need is one good shot of a Nazi and a prominent Republican, and
Correct.
And that's over.
that's over.
Yeah.
Right? It's case closed. So again, at the end of the day, he is a showman. But he brought up some really good points, and I loved that this was the first time that I saw Dinesh actually bring in a roundtable of some people who started out by saying, "Yeah."
I love that part of the documentary, that last component. And what I've read about, it was almost like it was broken down to 3 parts. It was the geolocation basis material, which freaked me out completely. I was very uncomfortable watching that. I was very uncomfortable knowing that the phones that we have on, like we have all of our phones here are listening. And again, we kind of know that, we kind of understand that, but then to watch that happening, it was very weird. And it was very...
Like, even if you shut your Google location off, your Google, if you go into your Google Map history, your
Still there.
location is not.
Hence why I like the older phones, because you literally could rip off the battery if you needed to. You could take it out, and you can't do that with any of these new phones. And so there's not...
That's why I keep 2 of them in my car.
Yeah, it's not...
Oh, wait. What?
That's a good way to die.
www.fbi.com.
I am not going anywhere near this further. Anyways,
It's all for jokes. All for jokes.
honey, I do not have 2 cell phones. First off, because I wouldn't know what to do with the second.
Seriously.
I don't have that kind of mental capacity.
I mean, I seriously, half the time I look at this thing and smack it and go, what? What?
Kimberly, your husband, would he be able to function with 2 phones?
No, but that's what the pager's
And again,
for.
that's a whole... He would never actually be able to function with that.
So
yeah.
the geo syncing kind of freaked me out, and then at the same time I was like, this is a lot of conjecture, this is a lot of hyperboles. I didn't like it that much. When he went into like the whole again, I don't disagree that there was malfeasancy happening in the 2020 election, things that were passed and overseen and not really. There was just no structure. Every state and almost every county did whatever they wanted to do.
Right.
We were in the middle of a pandemic. We still had to have the election. Some people didn't want to touch ballots because they were that freaked out. I mean, I remember the first few months.
We didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah, the first few months we were washing the fruits and the stuff that came out of the.
But you could see that they were going to take advantage of COVID
Absolutely.
to bend and break all the election laws.
Well,
Yes.
they learned from 2016. So I truly believe that 2016, the reason that Hillary conceded as quickly as she did was nobody thought that Trump was going to win.
Right.
And so they didn't have this type of ballot harvesting and the extra things that
which
they
is
didn't have it
technically
in
legal.
place.
Which is technically legal
Some
in
places.
many
Well,
states.
but it's not
Some
legal
places.
in
Every
any
place.
state. It's not legal to pay someone to
Correct,
ballot harvest,
correct.
and
And
that's what they were doing.
If they have the documentation that shows that individuals were getting paid
They
to
do.
do that, then that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, like how is
so that
Stacey
is-
Abrams
But
not in
you-
jail? I
but
mean, they
you-
literally
see?
admitted that they were.
But you
that they were
showing
ballot
me a
harvesting.
video of someone
It's
dropping off
the
5 ballots
illegality is if
technically
someone
is
showed
not
up to get a
enough
paycheck.
evidence.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
If
again,
someone collected a paycheck, that means there's a paper trail somewhere.
there is a paper trail somewhere.
someone needs to get that.
But nobody's picking up so here's the guy that we have the geo-tracking on, who we show you went to 28 different places within the span of 24 hours from 3 a.m., right? It's because that's when that's a big voting block is at 3 a.m. in the morning. So they
Nebraska.
have the geo-tracking. The problem is that there's no law enforcement that's picked it up.
Well, that's, and
There's
that goes
no
back
one
to the
who's picked
case.
it up.
Again, going back to, obviously a very robust conversation that I was having this weekend with someone who works at a federal agency, and they told me, look, nobody's looking into this.
Nobody has a flavor for
Nobody is lifting a finger on this.
Nobody has the flavor for it.
And you have to wonder why.
Because it's a Democratic held house at the moment.
Yeah.
And
No,
the moment,
this is-
I
this
just-
takes-
yeah, I
the
think that's
moment
part of it.
the moment we have a Republican House and Senate, I bet you there is going to be a wave of
No, look at the FBI. The FBI continue to do
the
all kinds
FBI.
of stuff
This
that they're.
is gonna be- listen.
The FBI is inherently corrupt.
I agree.
I agree with that.
And that is who would be in charge of picking this up.
I mean, and the
To go
problem.
question
And they're
those
never
people.
going to.
The
They're
only
never going
problem that they have right now is that the stuff that they're continuing to do is catching up with them. So first it was the Whitmer thing. It's only a matter of time before their role in January 6th comes out. And where does it stop?
But again, where's the publicity on this? I mean, number one, to find 2,000
Well,
mules.
the liberal
you
media is
gotta
not going
go
to cover it.
digging. No,
Yeah.
the liberal media. Fox isn't even covering 2,000 mules. So I would like to know why that's happening.
But here's the deal. I mean, we are a republic, and
Constitutional republic. We're not a democracy.
That's right. And that's why I say that. And, no one's coming to save us.
No.
We have to save ourselves. So if you have, and I'm a data evidence driven person. So if I
can fully attest to that.
If I say something, know that I have the evidence.
Right.
unrefuted. I have it. I have the video. I have the documents. And so he has a video and he has the geospacing. But if somebody were to go after this as a nonprofit or a constituent, they need to produce the actual data and that's irrefutable, where no one else can say no to.
Well, and that's the
I
thing,
think that's
though.
important to support our Constitution.
Because
You know?
what the information, the data that this documentary was able to get a hold of brings you like right up to the front door.
Correct.
It doesn't knock it down.
It's literally the agency data,
Right.
that it basically knocks down all of the barriers that would literally give you the data that you need to validate whether or not this
These are-
actually happened.
The videos are state videos. They're not like someone hunkered down
Correct.
Right.
with their cell phone. These are pulled from Georgia State. These are pulled from Pennsylvania. The videos are actual videos that they are required to mount on these drop boxes.
Yep.
And there were actually a couple of occasions where they got some documentation that said, we don't know why that video was shut off.
Yeah.
Like literally, they sent the correspondence that said we have no explanation
Well, it was the
for why
same-
there is no video.
It was the same tech company that was watching over Epstein.
And so,
right,
I will agree with Jonathan. I don't think it gets me there.
Yeah.
It gets me on the city block. It gets me close to the house, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I need evidence because again, I'm still of the opinion. Yes, there was a lot of shenanigans that happened.
Right.
on
Was it enough?
But was it enough to really derail an entire election? I don't think we're there yet.
It's
agree with
much
you.
like our national security. We'd like to think that we're safe in this country.
No.
Go right up to a CSX train. Who's going to stop you?
No one.
Go to the airport. Go to the
Right.
we're still a very vulnerable country.
Yeah.
And so to
Especially
think
with
that
flying immigrants that have no authorization.
well, and so to think that our elections are safe and sound is absurd.
No, they plan this well in advance.
and also to say that this is the first time this has ever happened. This
oh,
place
please,
is ridiculous.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So that and I agree with that. Like to say that everything is all hunky dory perfect is not supported by the evidence.
But we've talked about this on our trail of tears down from Tallahassee. that
I didn't cry. I was singing, and she was doing the samba or
and my
something while
hands were
driving.
holding for dear life.
That's actually true.
And so I feel what needs to happen is that this has now motivated a lot of Americans to be poll watchers, to be at the supervisor elections office, for there is to be transparency. You're telling me that you're kicking out poll watchers because you're going to have a pizza party on election night? No. This is your job.
I'll be
it's
here.
It's like telling your main pastor that is like asking for Mother's Day off. No. Everybody and their mother is going to be at church.
Well, and that's
so
the thing.
you are going to be at church.
I mean, I love my seniors. I mean, but gosh, it seems like they're the only ones. It seems like it's almost a requirement to be over 70 to be a poll watcher.
I feel that we should
mean-
organize a busing system outside of Sun City Center and the villages, and they will spread out through Florida.
Listen,
they already
Like the
they're
play.
the ones that volunteer.
I was a staffer on the Romney campaign in 2012, and I call the Democrats. They've got that down because those ladies they were showing up with fried chicken and water
Souls
and
to the
coming in
polls,
going,
yeah.
show me
Souls to
where
the
it say
polls.
Obama. Show me where it say Obama. That's all they said.
Yeah, and they'll do it
so-
under the guise of translation, and they'll do it, and they'll tell you, all right, vote for this one, vote for this one.
I'm telling you right now, if I have to be in Tonic, I'm not going to. Never mind. If I'm going to be in Seminole Heights, because
Careful, that's
now,
my precinct.
and
Yeah.
now with the new districts, I actually get to vote for District 1 in Hillsborough County for county commissioner.
Nice.
Now, will I say that I purposely had that little carve out?
well, I know why they did that card.
Yeah, well.
If you look at the map, you will see the little carve out of
I know,
mine.
yeah, I know why
And
they did that card.
I'm not going to say anything. However,
However.
I will be making sure my presence is known at the polling district now that they took out the Baptist church that's becoming a Florida health center.
Yeah. All right. Well, 2 down, a few to go. Thank you, everybody, for watching the yard sign. Love having Anibal David Cabrera, Kimberly Davis, and Joe Amato, or Josephine Amato, joining us tonight.
Josephine.
And
She's very fancy.
we're only bringing this up to appease Anibal and his thirst for a global empire. But Sweden and Finland are now practically begging to join NATO as the situation in Russia and Ukraine continues to deteriorate. It's sad, especially when you've got Sweden, getting involved. Things aren't heading the right way. And so here is our senior foreign correspondent, Anibal David Cabrera, with more.
With the
Where's your handheld mic?
With the 78th day of military exercises, as what the Russians say, they're happening in Ukraine at the moment.
According to them, they haven't invaded yet.
No, they haven't. It's special operations. At the moment, the Russian military has been completely removed from the northern parts of Ukraine, and they're starting to get removed out of the eastern parts too. So we'll see what's going to happen there. The aggression of the Russian Federation has actually motivated NATO and NATO to accept the applications for Sweden and Finland, two countries that you would assume were as peaceful as apple pie, but yet are really feeling the pressure right now. Finland,
which makes Putin really angry.
Very angry. It's so annoying. Why are you joining the club again? Okay. So with that inclusion, we now have a much larger facility that's going to be holding up when it comes to NATO, which is expanding its borders that touch Russia by 800 miles. So at the moment, only Turkey is the only country that is saying that it has objections to the introduction of those two countries. However, Turkey is having economic problems, is probably wanting money. So that's exactly what's going to happen in this situation.
Is Turkey currently a member of NATO? Sorry, I don't know my NATO
Turkey
countries.
Turkey is a current...
if we took Turkey back right now where they are, would they actually qualify to be a NATO member?
Majority of countries in NATO do not qualify to be
including us.
Why? Oh, yeah, that's true.
So, but Turkey's a very strong
one of the top ones.
Yeah. So Turkey has been sending a lot of military aid to Ukraine. So Turkey wants this to happen, but again, Turkey's having issues. Erdogan is having issues with his economy, so he wants to have, he probably wants the World Bank or somebody else to agree to a loan of his. Another thing that we're having issues with is that the treaty has to be amended and now has to be voted upon in the House and the Senate by 60 or 70%. It's a very high number. So I think we're going to have some issues there. Ron Paul has already said no to the $40 billion that was earmarked for Ukraine, but because he's only one voice in the Senate, I think they are going to be able to have.
Well, and Rand Paul apparently did something that's now also held up the $40 billion.
So he's trying to filibuster.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I didn't quite catch the whole story on that.
I didn't either. I thought it was some sort of audit on because the 40 went to 53.
Oh, that's McConnell.
Okay.
So what's the philosophy behind giving the Ukraine money? Because are they going to buy arms from us? Or because they don't need money.
It's supposed
they need arms. So they don't need money. They need support and troops. They needed our Navy to check Russia. Putin way a long time ago because history is just repeating itself. Right. So I'm trying to figure out where on God's green earth that Congress is sitting up there wanting to give Ukraine money that they can do nothing with. And they are actually decreasing services and benefits from our veterans in after the longest war in American history. Yeah. And if anyone in America doesn't know, our service members still deploy. They're still all over the world. Mm-hmm. They're still stretched thin. And I don't get that philosophy. I fully support Ukraine. What we are seeing Russia do is exactly what they did in Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. When we let the Mujahideen there, then Russia invaded. We started to be, after that war, we did not want to engage in any more war. And so that debacle in Afghanistan left the void after Russia left, and then we had 9/11. Mm-hmm. So they took the opportunity. He sat outside of Ukraine for a long time. We didn't check him. We didn't let him know, screw around and find out. And now we're finding out. And Europe is scared. And I'm glad Finland and I'm glad Sweden is saying, oh no, we better step it up.
Yeah,
because
let's sign up.
The world needs to understand that this will not end with Ukraine. We've seen it before. History has taught us, and make no mistake about it.
Where did it start?
The Ukrainian president is Jewish. Yeah. Make no mistake about it. The elimination of the Jewish people has always been a goal. And so going through Ukraine has been about power, and they are going for Europe. He's not going to stop.
I think it's very easy for normal Americans not to understand the bigger picture in the situation, especially as Latin American people. We see a dictator a mile away, and we see how difficult it is to get rid of them once they start really pushing out the borders. With Russia was never going to end with Ukraine, because the only way for Russia to feel safe is if it's able to have the borders the way they wanted to during the Soviet Union.
Which country did he go into with Obama?
Georgia.
Slovakia?
Georgia.
Okay.
He went into Georgia. And then people on Twitter were like, oh my God, Atlanta's in jeopardy. And I was like, oh my God, this is
So I got a hypothetical here because, somewhat to your point, we're giving them all this money, we're giving them all these weapons, and it's not just us,
Couched
it's
as
everybody.
humanitarian aid, which, by the way, is couched as humanitarian aid.
So it's
No, I
going to
understand, but
it's going to be to purchase some of the things that they're talking about.
Well, hold on. That's not where I was going. I mean, I'm not looking for receipts here.
Okay.
No, my hypothetical is that are we creating a monster? Because this has happened to us before, and again, we tend to ignore our own history, even though it repeats itself. But we're giving them all this money, we're giving them all these weapons. Okay, what does he do with it once Putin, let's say,
Right, where's the
goes away?
follow-up?
And exactly, and it's like, are we creating another monster out of Zelensky?
Is that where all the money's going?
I don't
Is to
understand.
another corrupt government?
Almost every government's corrupt.
and dictator. Are we creating another dictator in the Ukraine?
Another oligarch.
And again, it's like, what does he do with all that stuff? Once all this is done.
Well, at the moment, Russia has caused about $5 trillion in damages to Ukraine when it comes to the eastern half and southern half of the country. Mariupol is basically a crater, and that was a city of 300,000 people.
Yeah.
Well,
imagine the city of Tampa being turned into a crater of bombardment.
But the war's not over.
But speaking to Joe's example about the longest war ever, Afghanistan. Again, look at what we did there. We gave them weapons. We gave them
Afghanistan
resources.
is not Europe. It's not a European country. That's also a reason why
Neither is the
more
Ukraine.
people.
Neither is
But-
Afghanistan.
but
What are you talking about? Ukraine is a European country.
But our Americans died and bled just
Correct.
like any other country. They paid the greatest price.
Correct.
And
I'm just saying,
the
are we gonna regret
foolishness,
it?
It's
Yeah.
maybe if the money.
Are we going to regret it later to give them all these weapons and all this money?
I would rather give the money and the weapons to Ukraine so that American soldiers do not have to fight
so
Russia.
no soldiers.
Oh no, I'm okay with that.
That's my position in the situation. I do completely agree with your position that it's unforgivable that we are cutting services to our veterans while we're still funding another war.
But that's
not
because
ours.
we have plenty of money.
Our Achilles
to be able to
heel
push
has
that.
always been that we think immediately and act immediately, and we don't think 3, 4, 5 steps ahead.
Yeah, it's a shotgun
And,
reaction. We've always done that.
It's
all
always
over the
like
world.
that.
We've
It's
done
always
that.
Or we don't even look at the history that's right in front of us. It's a step-by-step history right in front of us. But so the biggest thing is to understand that part of all of this is human behavior. Russia understands power. They don't understand negotiation. If they think you're trying to negotiate, they're the bully
They're
on the
out.
block
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
going to take
They think
you.
that's- it's a sign of weakness.
It's weakness.
There's
exactly
no
right.
negotiation. There's only power. And we cannot play a negotiation game with someone who needs to be knocked out. And that's simple as that.
Spanish people understand this. There's a reason why you just got to punch them in the face. That's the only way they're going to learn. I don't know what else to say it like that, but it's true. Like, you have the Western American diplomatic corps and everything else, and they think everything is high and mighty, and then you have a Neville Chamberlain situation where they're like, well, Putin said that he wouldn't invade. He
seriously?
did that to Macron,
Right.
And the president Macron's like, oh, he's not going to invade, and then literally 2 weeks later he invades, and France has egg on his face. The president of France has egg on his face, and yet he
'cause
still
that's
gets
never
reelected,
happened
and then he
before.
still gets reelected. I don't think it was eggs, but then he still gets reelected, and you're like, oh my god, I cannot believe this man got reelected after someone lied to him.
Yeah.
Were you able to keep
Come
control there?
on.
All right, but I mean, I'm all for unity, and and again, it's unfortunate that it has to be under these circumstances. But if Sweden and Finland want to jump into NATO, good for them, and and for finally kind of stepping up and showing a pair.
I get. Also, the European Union needs to start donating more money to Ukraine.
Well,
If we're donating 400, and they've only donated like too,
portion.
then we're having
Yeah.
huge
Portion.
problems.
Yeah.
And again, that was the Trump situation.
But that's with everything.
Trump wanted them to start paying their fair share into NATO military, and
Right.
look what happened. If they
So
had
what
done
would
this-
be, and I don't know the answer to this question, so I'm just going to put it out there to maybe my bookends here. What is the financial cost for Swindon and Swindon? Okay, let's call it Swindon.
Might as well.
So the cost will be that
Swindling.
every American gets a vacation spot on the Black Sea.
Free
All
IKEA
right,
for everyone.
I'm in.
Oh wait,
free
America,
IKEA furniture for
please
everybody.
listen. IKEA is in trouble.
Girl, you gotta stop.
IKEA is in trouble.
That's okay. Who gets all the screws? Who gets all the screws?
Yeah, that's right.
That's if the American gets all the
is
extra
coming for
screws
IKEA.
from IKEA. We might
All right,
actually benefit on this.
that's it. That's the line.
That's
the
it.
line.
That's it.
Although that should be Russia's punishment, is that
No IKEA for you.
No, they have to build IKEA furniture for the rest of the for the
Punishment
next
is they
3
don't
we
get
own
any
the
L's.
screws.
Yeah,
they don't
that's
get any L drives.
right. They don't.
They have the only little screwdriver that fits this little.
Right.
I'm going to say this right now. I have an issue with IKEA. I don't like the idea that I have to grab my own stuff from the wall. I don't
I
like
know.
that, and I have to build it myself. I had to
sorry,
hire a company
listen.
to be able to fit the only.
This don't
why?
build. This don't build.
You have children though, and you have a husband. I have Lauren.
I have a husband, and he
I'm
builds.
not going to ask her
He
to
does
build
but this
something
don't
that we
build.
don't need in the house.
It doesn't camp, and it doesn't
Don't
build.
get me wrong. We
Yeah,
found
but-
a very good white handyman, which was very difficult.
Rooms to go is not much better
I
though.
can
I'll
say
tell
to
you
my
that.
husband.
Oh, okay. What's the rooms to go?
I said rooms.
Furniture.
On that note, let's bring it back
Ethan
to
West?
Florida, everybody. Thanks to Anibal, David Cabrera, Kim Davis, Joe Amato joining us on tonight's show. Very fun show, very lively show. Thank you. I sound like Trump there for a second. Very fun
You
show.
know,
good show. It's
because I
very
know,
good show.
I know.
I've been to
If I
many
didn't
shows.
know, I
Been to
would.
many
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
If we're gonna
It's
do
the
a
best
white
show
shot, we
ever.
should do a white
Best
shot.
show
This is going well. This is
ever.
going well.
Best
Let's
show
all do
ever.
Trump
I love
impressions
it.
at the same time. Let's all. Let's bring it back to Florida. Speaking of
Amazing.
Trump, as we have a federal judge here. Is it a federal judge or a state judge?
State judge.
State Supreme
State.
Court.
Lane Smith,
Yeah,
appointed
yeah.
by DeSantis.
Appointed by DeSantis, actually
be an
kind
awkward
of thrown
Christmas present.
Yeah, throwing the congressional maps that allegedly the governor
just
designed himself, saying that we've got
Exhausted.
some districts with problems. Actually, given the fact that this is a first draft, I think to say that the only issue is like somewhere up in Jacksonville, I think that's not bad. I think
fact
that's
But
that
I
middle
disagree
of
with
May.
the first
Yes,
draft.
I
I think
completely
that this has
disagree.
been the 85th draft. They've been working on this since what? Back
This-
in.
well
We're
from
in
the
the
governor,
middle
like
of
the
May.
submitted draft. I mean,
So the governor submitted his back before the new year, back in 21, and
Oh, that's
the
right.
legislature
Yep.
said no because they were afraid of
Well, they wanted
exactly
their
this.
own,
They were
yeah.
afraid of breaking down the majority and a couple of different majority, sorry, in a couple of the different congressional districts, and so that's when they shot it down and came up with
but
their
this is
proposed
this
map.
is the problem area that everybody called out immediately.
We all
yeah,
knew this
absolutely.
was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
But
is
now we're
all the
back
more
to-
reason why we should just give Jacksonville to Georgia.
I think there's some people in Jacksonville that might disagree
Yeah.
with that.
That's okay. I don't like them either.
disagree whatsoever. The same reason why I think I'm just waiting for Tampa to annex Pinellas County. Like that's what I've been.
Well, we
waiting
just
for.
took South St. Pete in 14, so we
Yeah, there you
started.
Okay.
There's a toe in the door.
15
It's
condo
happening.
towers.
It's happening. Oh my goodness.
Oy vey.
Yeah. So again, I mean, where does this stop? I mean, it's and because again, obviously this is. Fortunately, it seems like the dust will settle in our neck of the woods here. I mean,
we're not having issues here.
but for the Northeast, I mean, especially that being like his home turf, at least politically,
Well, and
his
the
home
Panhandle
turf.
is big, and that's good. This is going to affect the Panhandle because if they're going to if they do have to,
If only
then-
people live there. I mean,
Look at 2. Look
So,
at
yeah.
District 2. It's
Oh, there we
Well,
go.
but,
ridiculously
and look
large.
at 11, and then look at 3. Do you really think there's that much population in 3?
Do you really think there's that much population?
You have
in
to
11?
overlap.
Gainesville.
Yeah, you have to
Well,
overlap the
Gainesville.
cities.
So Gainesville's going to 2's going to have Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So that's the seat of the government. Gainesville's going to have 11. 3 and 4. I mean, 4 is going to be seriously just Jacksonville.
Yeah, and I think that's what they did not want to happen.
Yeah,
which
and
is
then
why
you've
they
got 5,
created-
which is those beach communities like St. Augustine, and I don't know how far south it goes.
The
I don't know if
problem is that
6
they
Daytona.
want a minority majority county.
They have
district.
to have, but they're required
They don't
to.
have to.
I think
Okay,
they're federally
right, no.
required to. Here,
No.
Joe will know.
Okay,
So this is where Joe comes in.
Okay, so it's different with the African American population than it is with the Hispanic population. So in Hillsborough, that's what they're doing to us. They're doing a minority majority. And for people to understand this really, really well, is that was created in which when our populace was very segregated and they lived in one area. So right now you'll start seeing stories of historic Black communities in Florida are starting to depopulate. And you're going to see that more over the next 10 years because we're doing what we're supposed to do in America. We are desegregating. We are creating equal opportunity across all parts. And so when you have a minority populace that controls a larger populace in the voting power, then we start to have discussions. However, the Black community in Florida still is a bit segregated in lots of areas in Florida and living in old segregated communities, pretty much. The Hispanic community is not. And I want to make that really clear because that's happening in Hillsborough. The entirety of Hillsborough County has 32% of Hispanic Americans. And a lot of people think we're all the same. No, we're multi-ethnic, multiracial.
Yeah.
Right.
Like we speak different dialects. And I love when they speak about the Hispanic American community like we're not conservative, or that we're like one. Like we all think the same, we all act the same. You know, it's like no, that's you
Right.
really, from Colombia to Honduras to Puerto Rico to Panama. So it's they understanding the populace, but we are desegregated. We live all over Hillsborough, and you'll see that in Jacksonville as well. So we're going to start seeing, like we're going to do in Hillsborough, is we're going to challenge that mandatory minority majority, because in Hillsborough, what it actually does is it actually discriminates against Hispanic Americans in Hillsborough, because what it does is it steals Hispanics from East and South County, puts them in the other side of the county that they don't live in,
Right.
that they don't have power in,
Yeah.
that doesn't concern them, and it's not their community.
And actually, to your point, I mean, I think the biggest example of how diverse a community, the Hispanic community, really is look at Miami.
Yeah, correct.
Miami is turning red.
Yes.
And it's only getting more Hispanic. It's not like there was some sort of Caucasian wave down in Miami, and so
And it's I gotta tell you, it's a lot of parents that are driving that across the different ethnic lines. I mean,
Right.
I have a new friend down in Broward who Broward is turning red.
Yeah.
Because
but again, that's all. It's driven by the fact that the Hispanic vote is not locked in for anybody.
No.
And that's just ethnically, culturally, that's just how it is. You've got to win every single vote.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Hispanic vote.
It's not a given anymore.
Yeah, and look, and props to the Republican Party, because from the time that Reince Priebus was there, they invested tons of money into the Hispanic community, leading up to what helped Trump, win the first election. And again, the number that cracks me up, and Crystal and Sager brought it up last week, is that what most people have refused to admit was that Trump actually went up in votes with every minority group,
Every
single one.
except white men. White men.
Except white men.
He lost votes with white men.
And that's my issue with this whole. I don't want to bring it back together, but the whole conversation,
The whole perception of the MAGA
thing
crowd.
is at the end of the day, he did not lose if white men would just done their job and voted for Trump the way they did the last time.
There's a coffee mug in there somewhere. I
And
know there's a
so
coffee
when you're
mug
telling
in
me
there
that,
somewhere.
and when you're telling me that people are harvesting votes
So
in,
wait a
in the
second.
minority communities,
Are you saying that white men were just waiting for brown and black men to do their job?
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Wah, wah, wah.
Okay.
That would include you, Anibal.
That was just a short. It was just a short route to
Get
get
to
to your
work.
point. That
That's
was
awesome.
just.
That's right.
So this is a really interesting point that I bring up to my black and brown community here in Hillsborough, is if you do not have a balance of power in your local government or even the federal government, when you are zoned as the majority minority community, what they do in the Democratic Party is they outvote you. So when you are just a majority Democrats, what they do is the black leaders always balance the vote between the the Democrats and the Republicans, they utilize both powers to get the things that they need for their community. When it's the majority Democrats, they relinquish that power of being a swing vote.
Right.
And when they relinquish that power, you could see it here in Hillsborough with Gwen Myers in the commission, where she was outvoted on her voting district. She didn't win that map. Why? Because she's outvoted. And you could see it on the school board with Shake Washington, where he gets outvoted for his community. And so you always, if you're going to have the voice of the Black American in Florida does need a voice and a seat at every table, and that's important. And how we make sure that happens, that everyone has the equal power to their vote. And until the African Americans and the Black and brown communities, historic communities, start to desegregate throughout Florida, then we can push that part, as we are going to challenge with the Hispanic American community.
Yep.
They're not there yet, to be honest. They are not there yet.
Right.
And so they do need the power, the same power in their vote, because every American should have equal power in their vote. Every American.
Yeah.
And so those lines need to be just.
But
how that gets there is a discussion still happening.
But I think the first crack in that foundation was the fact that they went all in for Barack Obama, and he did absolutely zero for them.
Nothing.
And they'll admit it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
why you saw such a swing during Trump, was because he actually created. It was record numbers of job creation within not only the women community, but the African American community, the Hispanic community. I mean, you saw those numbers. Those you can't. Here's the thing: facts are pesky little things.
Well, that and the fact that he called it out as
And he
you know
said,
what most people would never say, which was like, what do you have to lose?
Right, and that was.
Correct.
But I think that's why Trump brought as many people. Maybe not the white men, because they had a lot to lose. I don't know, but I'll ask my husband. But maybe that was the big draw. Was he called it out? He said, "I don't have anything to lose."
Right.
And so he called out the things. He said the things in the light of day that no one had said before.
Yeah.
And there were
Because it wasn't politically correct, right?
It-
was
and you know what? Here's
it
the
was the
thing.
unspoken
why,
truth.
But why do we have a term called politically correct?
Right.
Why does it have to be correct? If it's just because it's political, why does it have to be correct?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's obviously.
I mean, here's the thing: politics is as passionate as what you do for breakfast. What you do for
it's the
anything,
sort of
but-
thing. It's funny because it reminds me of something else that just happened, and it's because politically it's not advantageous to say those sort of things, right?
According to
it's
polling.
it's too brutal.
According to polling,
it's too
though.
brutal of a truth, right?
Right.
Which is why it cracks me up because Republicans for so long, took the no casinos route, right? Oh no, we're against gambling because Jesus doesn't like us spending our money that way, and so they thought that they would lose the Christian vote if they supported casinos here in Florida, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, they're taking billions of dollars from the Seminoles and letting them do whatever they please. And so
It's a shell game. The whole thing is a shell
Have
game.
you been to a bingo game on Friday night at Cabrera Church?
what a lot of people
you get cut.
and as ridiculous and small of a detail as this is, I think it's actually a huge deal. The fact that because of obvious reasons, the Sunshine Summit is being moved away out of Disney.
It's in Orlando, I still thought, isn't it?
Nope,
No.
it's actually been moved to the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and
Is
Casino
it? In July?
Hollywood. Ooh. Yes. So, I mean, for the for the Republican Party to hold their biggest event of the year,
Which is how
in a casino, I mean, that's a big deal.
it's a very big deal.
That's
a big
huge.
deal.
In Miami, oh my God!
I know.
We should go.
Oh yeah.
Can you do it live?
We should
Yes.
do a live.
Let's do it remote.
Calle
Let's
Do it.
Ocho.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll get it.
We'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
I'm already going.
Lauren has summer off. It's fine.
There we go.
You're good to go.
She's in. She's in.
She's like,
I'm gonna have to check my
Oh,
calendar.
are you
did you sweeten the
presuming
deal?
to know?
Johnny, did you sweeten the deal?
Of course. Oh, he's sweetening the deal.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, we're
All
in
right.
trouble.
Let's start to bring in tonight's show home. Again, thank you, Joe, Kim, Anibal, for a great show so far. But of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't tackle one of the topics that, again, we've been just covering lightly on the surface, kind of scratching at the past few weeks. We had Allie Legg, who's running for Hillsborough County School Board here recently. And so I'll take that opportunity to give shout outs to Stephanie Meyer in Pinellas, give shout out to Jen Jen Licata running up in Hernando for school board, because we've been teasing about this lawsuit that's been brought about to the Hillsborough County School Board, and again, it's one of those that even those of you, Allie and those and other people who we've talked to who have been kind of intimately involved with this issue, it's just been dragging on for so long. It's like even Allie was like, "Gosh, I don't even remember what the districts even look like."
And Joe is actually, I did want to correct that when the opening statement where you said that I'm spearheading this. This is actually Joe spearheading this, and she brought me in.
Awesome. Okay.
Because I have a louder mouth. Shockingly, I know, right? No.
Hey, that's a huge compliment coming from Puerto Rican. So.
She fits right in.
Yeah. That's how you get along so
You
great.
heard about the what did you call it? The road trip of tears?
The road trip of tears.
She literally was doing the samba while driving.
Yeah. All right. So quick on that note,
Then we
given
cried.
that you went up to Tallahassee, kind of, maybe initial thoughts on Manny Diaz.
Well, I've been following Senator Diaz, and now, chair to the Department of Education for a very long time. I've been a super fan.
I'm from Miami, so I know like 20 Manny Diaz's. So like I always see him and I'm like, did I go to school with him? Did I know him? Maybe I played soccer with him. Yeah.
It's another West Side Story
You
issue.
played soccer?
I know. Cliche.
So he has come up in the education community, and he's led the Senate really well, and he's passed a lot of really great bills, and they've been thoughtful, and so he has knowledge of the Department of Education. He has knowledge of how things get funded, and he has knowledge of what's important to families and creating equal access to public education for every family, creating opportunities to learn. So, there's this big push for it to say only one way of doing equal access to public education is the way. But if that was the truth, why in Hillsborough we've consistently had the some F-rated schools? Why across the nation 80% of our students with disabilities are below education standards, but only 1% are developmentally disabled? So choice, how long should we wait until you fix it?
Right.
How long? Because my kid has to graduate school by 18. So
Right.
you have so many years to get it done. So he is a proponent and supporter of choice and creating different levels of choice. And as a military family who moved here, while we were active duty, I've been a Floridian for a very long time though, before that, but that is really important to military families, especially our families who are in Virginia and other states that still haven't opened schools.
Wow.
So we
That
moved.
seems so ridiculous.
It is
Isn't it
so
preposterous?
insane.
Yeah.
And frightening.
They just started opening schools like 6 months ago and doing virtual, and our families move. We're gone already.
Yeah.
So if your child didn't have access to education for a year, they lost it. It's gone.
Well,
You're
that's
in
not a
different state.
viable lifestyle for
Right.
most families.
Right.
To have the kids stay home and go to school.
Right. And right. And so, I love some of his policies. I love that he supports being creative, innovative, in order to ensure that every child has an opportunity to learn. So,
Well, and honestly, he's one of the reasons why, and maybe more credit than he deserves. I don't know. But I think he's one of the reasons why we are seeing a red wave, in Miami-Dade County.
Absolutely.
And-
He's very popular in his district.
Yeah, and look, the delegation from Miami is very strong, and they continue to get stronger. And you don't win a congressional seat, just by chance. I mean, we were talking about some of the unwinnable seats around here. For Congresswoman Salazar to have beat out, especially the person that she beat out, which was the former president of the University of Miami. I mean, to beat Shalala was a monumental
Well, and not for
accomplishment.
nothing, that the team that worked for Salazar is the one that's working for Jay Collins right now. So that's
Okay.
that's
I like that.
interesting to
All right.
note is that
If he
there's
was
some,
still
Good to
in
know.
14.
So
So I like that you bring that up because I this has always bothered me. The Lieutenant Governor of Florida,
which one?
Jeanette.
Jeanette
Oh, Jeanette.
Nunez,
Okay.
is the first Hispanic American.
Why don't we
to
talk
be
about her more?
Why isn't she on the national news? Why are
Yeah.
we promoting that amazing leader who is leading the way of what America looks like in so many ways? And I literally, the moment that he was elected, I showed it to my daughters and I let them know.
Someone who looks like you.
This is what opportunity does. This is what America does. And in 200 years, how far we have
she's
come.
on the wrong. She's on the wrong.
Well, she's
side.
the first female Latina to be elected to lieutenant governor.
Yes.
But this is the kind of been the detriment to having a good, healthy party.
Yep.
Is that we also had Carlos Lopez Cantera, who was the first Hispanic lieutenant governor, and. You know, I mean, he picked the Senate race to jump into, and Marco decided to jump back into that race,
Right.
which, you know, kind of put him back out to pasture. And it's tough. Like, what do you go after being lieutenant governor, especially when you had a powerhouse like Ron DeSantis jump in, when you had Adam Putnam jump in? Like, that was not going to be for, you know, CLC to do that. It was not going to be an easy win.
And it's been a while since we had a lieutenant governor rise to the governorship, and I don't think it's happened in quite some time. I don't think it's happened to where we've had someone in the cabinet jump up.
even
Honestly,
remember.
I cannot remember. I do remember
Maybe Charlie Crist.
Sweet Jesus. Which time?
I do remember the first time I met Governor Martinez, and the fact that I put it together while I was sitting in a room at the University of Tampa, hearing him speak. I was like, "Oh my God, someone that's like me." Became governor of the state. And this wasn't like a year or two ago. This was like in the 80s and early 90s. No.
Yeah, 80s.
Yeah, 80s. Because he was the mayor.
because I wasn't. Yeah,
He was the mayor of Tampa.
Mid 80s.
He was the mayor of Tampa, and then he became governor and senator. Yeah, and so it was it was a clicking moment for me that my voice can matter in government, and I still have that picture of him and Pam Ioria and me in the middle with my Pashmina back then as well, and so like that's a very important picture for me to have, and I can't wait to take my nephew and my nieces to DC when we have a legitimate president in the White House and be able to have that experience, because being young and walking around DC is overwhelming. Is so, because you're seeing these monumental buildings and these huge yards and these beautiful it's overwhelming, and it's meant to be overwhelming. Listening and reading about this country and not understanding why people of your generation that have been your people, but I'm just gonna say I don't understand how white Americans don't appreciate this country more than they should. I don't know why. And I'm not talking about you or your kids.
I think you're talking to the 25%.
I think I am talking about the 25%.
I think you're talking to the 25%.
Because I'm sorry, I watch Hamilton. I'm going to cry during Hamilton. I can tell you right now, when they do that song that the world is turned upside down and they win in Yorktown.
Yeah.
I blows my mind every single time. I'm a part of a system that has changed the world so many times.
Right. You know, and it hurts, you know, when you see the left try to diminish those accomplishments.
And try and diminish the culture.
Right, exactly. You know, and so it's like it hits even closer to home for me because Martinez is my mom's maiden name, you know, and so it's a crazy connection where, you know, somewhere, you know, up the family tree. I mean, there must be some sort of connection there.
Good friends with my dad. I actually have, it makes me choke up a little bit. I have a really cool framed poster from the original dedication of the Sunshine Skyway.
Oh, wow.
Signed by all of the people who were there before the
crash.
Yeah. But from the original,
Wow.
it's signed by Bob Martinez. It's in our Tampa room. But
So sorry.
No,
We'll
it's
get back
okay.
to-
I was just like, I mean, it just blows my mind that we are not speaking about her more, that she's not on the national stage more, and her accomplishments and her voice. And I think that's a shame.
Look,
She's on the
it's
wrong
going to
side
be
of the party, yeah.
It's going to be a really rough day for Democrats when Florida is being run entirely by Hispanics.
Oh my gosh, I cannot.
Do you think the press will
in
cover it?
everyone's hand.
do you think any press will cover
No,
it
they'll
outside
just-
of Telemundo?
not at all.
They'll just annex us to the Caribbean, and you know, and we'll now be 40
Cuban
49
troops will
states.
invade Miami.
Love it.
Oh my
And
gosh!
Biden will have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
He doesn't anyway.
Oh my God.
You know, so, I mean, think about it. I mean, we've kind of already checked off all the boxes, you know, mostly on the cabinet, you know, and so, I mean, I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, it's incredible to see, you know, what Miami is like, and even if you go to Tallahassee, I mean, it feels like Miami's running the state of Florida.
A little bit.
I mean, when you go up there, I mean, it's just the Miami people are all over the place, and you can spot them, thanks to their accents.
And the cut of their jackets.
Yeah, that's right.
The more
And they don't wear
colorful-
socks. Why don't they
None of them
wear
wear
socks?
socks, yeah.
Why is nobody wearing socks?
You know
I
what?
never adopted
it's a
that.
cultural thing.
Yeah.
Let's just get over it and move on. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So, and that speaks to not the culture. I'm just trying to get this out in the best way possible, but it speaks to the power of the community in their community. So in Hillsborough, we have the same voting power, but we're not utilizing it in a
Right.
united way
Yep.
to have that same power that it reaches Tallahassee, that those we elect have the same powerful seat at the table in Tallahassee, because we keep getting divided up, because we need to actually have equal representation in Hillsborough so that we can actually be reflective of the people we're voting for.
And
Well,
we've
even
had,
still-
we've had this conversation.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has always been the powerhouse of Florida politics. For the longest time, it was always Jacksonville, and Orlando can never get itself together because it's a bunch of transients. And Miami was perfectly happy being as southern as possible, away from the capital, and just leave them alone. And Hillsborough and the Bay Area had the opportunity multiple times to take control.
but we
and
keep blowing it.
and we keep on messing it up. And you see where the power is, where the speakers are coming from, and that's how you see where power is coming
Panhandle.
from.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's because those communities are able to put their resources together and send people up to Tallahassee that
Again,
will represent them.
but to
And
your-
we don't here in Hillsborough
To illustrate
County.
your
It's
point
so divided.
to illustrate your point is let's look at 14 and 15. We have 4 or 5 really, really talented politicians and potential representatives that were in one race, and we got no
Yeah,
one in 14.
right.
Like, how do we not look at this and say, is it we or is it me?
Yeah.
You know,
Correct.
where are we going in this? That we're actually that these people who want to represent us are actually looking around and saying,
Well, and some of them also need to be like, you know what? Like, instead of thinking going up the chain, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what? Why not come down a notch?
come down a notch
you know?
and let me affect some change.
Run the
let
county,
me do
run the
something
city,
well.
run the
Yeah,
city,
run the
absolutely.
city.
Or actually be about the people.
Be about the
actually
people.
be about your community.
Right.
Actually
Poll the people.
know
What do
your
they want?
community and actually represent us. And sorry, Buchanan, I like you, but I haven't seen you, and that's an issue.
Vernu.
Well, because
Like that's an issue, but this is our community,
Yeah.
and you're supposed to represent us, not dictate to us, not be about you, not be about what's your platform, but be about the people, about the things that are affecting us here today.
Right.
So that is something that we need to start reminding those that we support everywhere,
Yeah.
that you represent us. You do not dictate to us, that
Right.
you must
That's the
speak
me,
to
not-
us,
that's the
and
me,
you
not
must actually come speak to us about what's happening in our community, like our crash rates, our overcrowded schools, our infrastructure. And if you're just out there and you're standing before me and you're running for commissioner, but you really want to run for a state seat, but you don't know what's happening in my community and on my roads or in my schools, you don't know your stuff to represent
Yeah.
me.
Well, and to your point with the Hispanic vote here in Tampa Bay, really, the problem is that geographically we're not made up like Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Miami has Little Havana, Miami has Hialeah, Miami has Doral, Kendall. I mean, now it's
But to
seeming,
just
it's
point
seeming like
those segregated
but-
communities, but they're
Right,
intentionally
exactly.
they want to be segregated.
Yeah, you know, they've
That's their 3
organically-
generations. Yeah,
yeah,
they're
they've
3
organically,
generations. Yeah.
you know, the influx of Colombians all ended up in Weston. The influx of Venezuelans all ended up in Doral. And this has organically happened because, again, you gravitate towards the people you know, just like in New York. And they've learned how to galvanize, you know,
Correct.
to get people that
Elected.
will represent them elected. The problem is they haven't figured that out here. And look, and I say this all the time. Yeah, it's like, okay, you have, you know, one Hispanic, you know, in Charles Miranda in the city council. But guess what? Like his family's been here like 5 generations.
Right.
Like it's not the same. His experience as a Latino or Hispanic,
completely different.
you know, is
It's
completely different than
different
you know
as
than somebody
somebody
who's
who's a
been here
first generation.
first or second
Absolutely.
generation.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know, you're right. We're not represented locally at any level.
So we have Karen Perez on the school board. and she's Puerto Rican, and I
Everybody
think
buckle up.
another, and I think Puerto Rican and another national origin. I'm not quite sure, so I don't want to say like get it wrong. She is trilingual. She speaks sign language and Spanish, and she's on the school board. And this is my thing: when you stand on the backs of my children to uplift yourself, but you're actually the person oppressing them, I have a problem with you as being the representative of the Hispanic community. Because when things aren't produced in bilingual in the language, you're not representing the community.
Right.
When there's actually not a sign language interpreter at the school board meetings, you're not representing the community. When you actually sit at the dais and you sit there and you say, oh, my community, the Hispanic American community, doesn't know about the redistricting of the school board. Like, they don't know, and that's why I'm going to vote for it. Mamita, like, that's the opposite. Like,
Right.
you don't know that you're actually legally required to ensure that they are informed in the language that they understand, every language, not just the Spanish language.
Yeah.
So, no.
And Miami's
then-
learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, again, it's not just Spanish and English. I mean, it's Creole, it's
Vietnamese.
Russian.
Yeah.
We have a
mean,
large
they're
Vietnamese
huge.
population.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Korean, like, so, but if you're going to sit at the dais and say you represent our children, but you're not going to do your due diligence to actually follow the law, the basic law for equal access to education for our first generation students who do not speak English, to ensure that their parents can fully participate in meetings and in their education. You know how many meetings I sat at in the audience that I'm like, do we have a translator for the families, the farm worker families who show up?
Right.
They
want to know. They got
They are the
Yeah.
American dream.
Right.
These are the
Yes.
people that are the American dream,
yeah.
and they're pursuing it, and they're being denied access.
And if you
Right.
talk to any teacher in Hillsborough County that has Spanish students and Spanish families, I will tell you right now, they will all tell you the same thing. It takes them twice as long to communicate with those parents. One, there's already a barrier because they're not very trustworthy when it comes to authority. Two, every conversation is having to be Google translated to be able to have that
and that's
effective
if they
communication.
have internet access.
And that's the thing. So a lot of it's through text messages. So there is some form of communication dialect. Again, I'll put, my wife is perfectly fine having this conversation. They will text her in Spanish. She will translate it. She sometimes calls my father to make sure the translation is being done correctly, and then she sends the information out. Somebody that's supposed to take 2 minutes now is taking half an hour. And it's just something, and that's just the bare
That's the
minimum.
job-
But I
that
speak
is
English,
the job of the school
and,
board.
and I'm multilingual, and it is very difficult to navigate the seventh largest school district in the
Yes.
nation.
Yes.
It is very difficult to get information, to get communication, for it to find anything on the website. They'll tell parents, oh, this is how you appeal discipline, but it's actually not on their website. They're like, oh, this is the person you need to talk to. Oh, wait, their email's not on the website. So
The problem, and I'll tell you, the problem was because I've been here through most of it. I moved here in 2006, and geographically, right, we still have so much room to grow. The problem was that the growth outpaced the community.
Yeah.
I mean, like Tampa and Hillsborough County
that's where we're facing
was
again
not
right
ready for the influx of immigrants from other countries.
We're still not
I
ready.
mean, it was
It's
no.
the
And that's
the
what we're facing
mentality.
again right now. Please understand that
Right.
one of the reasons that redistricting was so out of control in this past cycle was we grew by exponential numbers of
Yeah.
these blue states moving into happy Governor DeSantis, Florida. And it's not stopping. And so we did this rush, hurry up redistricting, both on the county commission level and on the school board level, that redrew these lines that were based on, we got to do it, assuming that it's going to stay steady like that, stay stagnant like that for another 10 years. That's not
There's
the
no
case.
way. There's no way.
No.
There's no way
There's no
we
way.
can wait another 10 years.
And
No.
now you have individuals that are sitting on school board, city council, and county commission that are still acting like this is a county of less than 1 million people.
No.
They are still acting like we have entire swaths of South County that are not getting populated, overdone.
I mean, when you look at those congressional
that's what's
maps and you
happening.
see those big swaths and they go, well, that's just rural.
No.
No.
We have the
Those are
greatest-
housing development after housing development. They are being
Yeah.
populated.
Hold it
There
up.
they
Yeah,
go.
look at the map right now.
Thank
This
you,
makes
Sugar
no
Butt.
this makes no.
Okay,
District
so-
2 makes absolutely no sense.
So just on landmass alone, which the school board like to conveniently leave out, school board like landmass is part of the voting when you reapportion the lines. So, and when you go down the lines, Donata is really an East County town, and how they divide that line, those are East County people. They do the Strawberry Festival. They do all of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is clearly voter, alignment.
Division,
They literally went down the blue line. They copied the BOCC map.
They copied Pat Kemp's map.
They did exactly, and it was done by the BOCC. It was not done by school board member Karen Perez.
Nope.
She has not produced one public record, not one.
I'm going to tell you right.
That proves that she.
I mean,
did
there's no part of any of those that I'd say, okay, well, that's the voice of the Hispanic.
None of them makes any
none of them.
sense.
I'm going to
They
tell you right now,
actually-
District 1 and District 3 make absolutely no sense. And the reason
None
why I
of
say that is because, are you telling me that not West Tampa, was it Carrollwood?
West
Correct.
Chase.
No. Carrollwood
yeah.
in District 3 has more in common with Dover?
Thank
No.
you.
That makes no sense.
Right. So
Right.
we did a map that we submitted.
Makes no sense.
No, we submitted a map.
Where
Legally
Town and
submitted-
Country has
right.
anything in common with Keystone.
Or West
Correct.
Chase, or even West Chase.
Or West Chase,
No,
yeah.
there's literally a river that divides that part of the county, which is why Town and Country and West Tampa make much more sense to be in District 5,
Correct.
and even to the point of District 2. But
And that's where they were.
But 4 doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
doesn't make any
right,
sense.
because it does make sense if you put the red and the blue red on top of it. It makes perfect sense because, and literally 4 had the greatest growth. We are literally bursting at the seams at every single one of our schools.
4 should be like 3 districts.
It should be.
So that is part of our.
Yeah.
Right.
We're doing this lawsuit.
Not that I want to expand the size of the school board. Trust me.
No,
but
but,
we need
Plant
to.
City
We need
actually
to.
needs its own representative. We divided it along Durant Road. I submitted the map, by the way. I followed all
was
the legal.
Denied.
No, they didn't even present it to the public. They did not present it to the board.
Yep.
School board member Dr. Hahn did not get a copy of it. They kept it from the school board, even though I followed all the rules of submission of maps. They kept it.
Your
And
school
so-
board at work, ladies and gentlemen.
and that was kept by the chief of operations, Chris Farkas. They actually rated the maps before they got to the dais. Each school board member had a rating, and
They sent out a rating before they had any community meetings. They
tell
asked
me-
the school board to rank their school board maps before they had any community meetings to get any community input. They had already sent out
Right.
a ranking
Yeah.
on the maps before any community input.
So, and then tell me you don't really care what
And
I
we
have.
have all the evidence on
Right.
this.
And so tell me you don't really care what I have to say without telling me you don't care what I have to say by
right.
actually already ranking the maps before you
Before
have
even ask me what I have to say.
the town hall at the one primarily black school in Middleton, and then tell me you're breaking sunshine law without exactly telling me you're breaking sunshine law. Have a vote that lasts 11, like a discussion on redistricting a county.
The
The
size.
7th largest school district
Right.
that's almost the size of Rhode Island. In literally the conversations was 9 minutes.
I think
Tell me you
actually-
didn't talk
and
already.
I actually think
Yeah.
I heard the other day that with our new growth that we've actually outpaced Rhode Island in terms of population in Hillsborough County.
Wow.
I'm not surprised. 300 people a week are moving to
Yeah.
the area.
That's
It's insane.
crazy.
Yeah, so we're actually bigger than Long Island now.
Well, no, nationally, again, we're I think in the top 3. In terms
Well,
of growth, in terms of home price increases.
Try
I
and
mean,
drive from 54 down to Sun City.
I try not to.
Well, I
54?
mean, I said try.
Try driving-
I didn't say how
Van
to.
Dyke.
try driving from 60 down to
No, thank
the Sun
you.
City Center.
No, thank you.
It's a different world. It's
I
a
mean,
different
they
world.
have their own rush hour.
Yes, we do.
Well, yeah,
That's what I mean.
It's during bingo, but still, it's still there.
Is it drag bingo?
No, it's not.
So I mean, the
The
hubris.
golf carts are
You
everywhere.
almost had me there.
I mean,
Oh my
the
gosh.
hubris is
know.
just like crazy that
Yeah.
you would go and redraw a district, ignore the largest population with overpopulated schools. Why? Because you want it. That's the way you do a coup in Hillsborough County.
That's right.
That's how you have almost 99% only Democrats on every single local government control.
www.flfreedom.com. .org.
Well, you know,
only-
not that we have time to get to it, but I mean, you know, that makes it all the much more disappointing again that Melissa Snively has decided not to run again.
Yeah.
We love her.
We don't want to go there.
You know, and so I mean that's another problem we have to tackle. You
Yeah.
know, is finding someone that can help us retain that seat that's
She's
going to
got
adequately
someone.
represent.
So she's got someone that she's endorsed,
well,
and we haven't met with her yet, but I'll make sure she gets in touch with you guys.
All
So
right.
you-
Something that the comment section keeps on bringing up is that one individual that we have also had on this broadcast, and we need to get him back on, which is Luis Viara.
Yeah.
When it comes to being, even though he is a
he represents himself as the Hispanic boy's son. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know what you wanted to say.
I truly feel that he is one of the few Hispanics that actually kind of gets it when it comes to being a Democrat and a Hispanic. And I love his dad because his dad's a Republican.
Yeah, no,
Well,
Lewis
didn't
is
he
a great
used to be
guy.
a Republican, but he switched so
Yeah.
he could win the Tampa seat?
When he was young,
Everyone
yeah,
that is
Switches.
on the city council was probably a Republican
Yeah.
before they
Bill Carlson.
Guido.
Yeah.
Our mayor was a Republican.
Guido,
Before
Joe
she
Guido,
tried to run.
Citro,
Yeah.
that's a huge one, yeah.
Now, was this when she was still married to? Well, I'm not even going to go.
Don't
Let's
even, let's
talk
not even, yeah,
You know
please.
what?
That's
Do
a whole
you.
other show.
Do
Just text me when you're ready to do the caster show. I have an outfit all
Oh
ready.
boy!
Have you guys noticed
Is
that
it-
in the
Not a
last
pashmina.
month
Is
that
it
how
a
much?
half suit, half? No.
See, he doesn't. He pulls the punches.
So have you noticed that Tampa and our representatives, including Susan Valdez and Mayor Castor and Janet Cruz, have done a lot of appearances at the White House in the last 3
Oh,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that, you know,
I believe Fentress was there as well.
yes, yes. And that should concern everyone in Hillsborough about who is really in charge of Hillsborough.
Didn't we
Yeah.
give it? Didn't we give it up to the?
That's
Bloomberg
Anna
people?
Cruz.
Didn't we give it up to the Bloomberg people? The city of
Oh
Tampa.
well, so Bloomberg, yeah,
Anna
that's
Cruz
a whole
is in
other
charge of
conversation
Hillsborough.
also. But Bloomberg,
Oh, yeah.
Bloomberg is now running all of this stuff. When we had to sit down and talk about,
It's the Bill Gates Foundation all over again.
it's honestly, and I was involved in that, and I literally was involved in that panel that took the Bill Gates, the Gates Foundation, and the amount of checks and balances that were required by the Hillsborough County School Board and public schools. I immediately said, this is a red flag. This is a red flag. We can take this money and it will help our community, but if we have to jump through these hoops to do it,
Not even that. The fact that they had to match the money after the contract ended.
But that wasn't at the beginning. That was not said at the very beginning.
No one
that was
talked about
not
it.
said.
No one
Right.
talked about
That was
it.
not
Allie
said
and
to the
you.
community members who were invited who were actually at that point invited to participate, and I was very active in my PTSA at that point. I still am when I'm invited to be.
I think that was the beginning. I think that was the beginning of truly the true mishandling of the finances of the school district.
That was when we first started to put eyeballs on it for real and for true, and then right then was when Elia, because that was an Elia
Yep.
thing, and so that was when she was ousted with a $10 million payoff?
I think it was
No, it was 10.
There was a $10 million payoff that we paid out a contract on a school board superintendent
Right.
for Hillsborough County. $10 million.
And we're probably going to get rid of this one too. So like,
Well, no, they're going to fire him from the dais. I predict this right now.
Oh, yeah,
I
over
don't
the
know
summer. I
if
was
anybody,
under the
but I don't think he's going to get a payout. I don't think he's going to buy out. I
his
think they're
contract
going to
doesn't allow.
so like
they're going to fire. They're going to do it publicly, and they're going to.
But
do
again,
it from the dais.
why are they agreeing to these ridiculous contracts? Because again, there's no common sense.
because Hillsborough
on the
County
school
will pay
board.
another will pass another penny tax. You-
Right.
No,
because it's not
a
their
penny.
money.
It's a
It's a percent.
percent.
it's a percent. That's for transportation.
Same,
so
right?
No,
And
the
they-
school board.
there are too many
The school board's
taxes.
going to come for another.
There are
another
too
No, they
many
are
And they're
Another
already
tax
getting,
increase.
and the school board's already getting a projected 113
Yeah.
million just based on property tax increase.
Yeah. Oh no, but Chamberlain High School is getting a new football stadium because that's important.
Well, the field. It's the field too.
Well, the
They
stadium.
have to replace all the fields.
yeah, the whole thing.
Nobody has any air conditioning.
no,
Oh my god! But everyone has a
well, we
Tesla.
got money for
But
AstroTurf.
Everyone has
you
a
gotta
Tesla.
you got to get the.
Well, we got money for
AstroTurf.
AstroTurf.
Yeah, but
Well-
that's because that's what brings in the boosters.
Yeah,
Well, I got to tell you,
because there's so many boosters at Chamberlain High School.
There actually are.
Yeah, they are.
There actually are.
because of
Deal.
Yeah,
Well, then they
that's a
can pay
great
for it.
football program.
So I mean,
Anyway, sorry.
yeah. So like in 2019 and 2020, Hillsborough
All right,
County
here's
was
the-
87
this one.
million in the hole. 87 million. And
Jesus.
87 million in the hole. But this is since 2004, they have always had, they were 10 million short, 39 million short. 2012,
That's the one.
65 million. In 2014, 53 million. In 2014-15, 133 million. And this is when the previous superintendent Aiken said, I wasn't aware of all of it. So you were aware of it. I wasn't aware of all of it. And by the way, not only were you aware of it, but the fact that you're inept, that you're not aware of all of it,
Right.
is like just mind
What
blowing.
how do
happened
you
in
say
14
that out
and 15?
loud?
Good God.
So ineptitude, like it always is, and this is my thing. No one is just speaking. I'm pretty much I'm pretty much kind and say, you know, I'm always trying to be kind and trying to have productive conversations. But we're at the point with Hillsborough County Public Schools that when you have an additional $600 million, or you get an additional $164 million from the Department of Agriculture, and you don't give your food service workers a raise, and you've never spent more than like 20 million, we have an issue. Like, no one's calling them out and saying, listen, you are inept. This is ineptitude. This is
It's
absolutely
malfeasance.
not.
Ineptitude is actually giving them a pass. I
Right.
think it's true malfeasance
Yeah,
where
we
they
should
are.
go after the vice presidency.
right. It's just, you know, we've been asking for, you know, I personally have been at the dais asking for a forensic audit for years.
Well, they keep saying they've done them.
No,
but
they've
they
done
don't.
audits,
They
but
do
not
them
a
internally.
forensic audit.
It's been internal.
So,
And so does the HREC does the audits as well.
Sweet Jesus
like,
in heaven.
I
For like a Chinese GDP report, I don't believe you.
That's right.
So, like, I've proven that they have literally stolen money that's supposed to be allocated for military kids with disabilities.
Yes.
And they spent it elsewhere. And there's like 2 years they reported, I was at the DACE and I reported this, that 2 years straight, that you get funded, the school district gets funded based on the number of military kids that they report annually, right? And we move in and out annually, right? 2 years, same exact number to the penny. Is that possible? No.
Right.
Did anyone say, oh my gosh?
I mean, you should go play the lotto if that's happening.
I mean, like, oh my gosh, Miss Amato. Of course we're going to look into it. Absolutely not. You know what they did do? Try to shut off the microphone. That's what they did do.
They did. I saw that. And by the way, I'm never calling you Miss Amato.
It's weird. It's weird.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You were fantastic.
Oh, thank you for
We'll
having
definitely
me.
be having you back, and please keep us up to speed. And
She's way closer to you than I am, too. So you can call her on the last minute.
So
Oh, yeah, she's in Brandon.
well, that's right. You know, unlike Kim, you know, she doesn't mind crossing Ybor. Anibal wouldn't either if it wasn't for this podcast.
I don't. Well, technically, we're not in Brandon. We're technically still in Tampa.
That's true.
I'm just in South Tampa, and I don't really like my outside bra, so.
Oh my gosh!
On
Hey,
that
listen,
note,
quarantine was good to me.
Wow, we hit
Wow.
we hit
Other
a lot
wardrobe.
of lows. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been great having you on the podcast today.
don't forget all your Ring cameras are being recorded. There's somebody at Google watching all that stuff. On that
They
note,
won't enjoy mine, so.
thank you again, Anibal, David Cabrera, Kim Davis, and Joe Amato for joining us on tonight's show. Florida Freedom Legal Fund for Josephine. So look them up and the work that they're doing. Thank you, as always, to the Community Patriots, community-patriots.com for you guys. What's next event for you guys?
You know what? I'm not sure. We had scheduled a 70s dance party, but we had too many of our candidates had conflicts with their own fundraisers, so we didn't want to take away from that. So we're looking at what we're going to do to reschedule. But our next meeting will be is May, so it's the second Wednesday of every month.
All right. And that's why we have websites.
Yeah.
So go to community-patriots.com. And again, there's also a panelist chapter as well. So keep up with Community Patriots wherever you may be watching or listening from. Anibal's over there sad because he didn't get to talk about the Queen today. So
Her
on that note,
70th
thank you to everybody for watching the show.
is happening.
Good
And we are
night,
very
everybody.
excited.
Good night.
Good night.
See you next Monday. See you next Monday.